Trump says his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went well. In a post on Truth Social, the president said nothing definitive was reached between the two leaders, other than him insisting negotiations with Iran should continue. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Nitsana Darshan Leitner back here on the Live Zone. Nitsana, always good to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
Obviously, all eyes happen to be on the White House while the two leaders sat down to discuss all things surrounding Iran. It's interesting. Mum's the word and/or a lot of hush-hush with regard to what was discussed. Overall, would you deem that meeting to be somewhat successful?
According to Prime Minister Netanyahu, the meeting was very successful. He met with a very dear friend, and he discussed the issues that he planned to. Netanyahu came with a specific goal to try to convince President Trump, that any agreement that will be signed with the Iranians must include two more components in addition to the nuclear issue, which is one, the ballistic missiles, the threat that can destroy the state of Israel if it's not getting eliminated. And the other one is the support of the Iranian regime in the proxies in the Middle East, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, that are devastating terror organizations that are imbalancing the entire Middle East. The result of this meeting is not known to us. But we do know that was a very good feeling in the meeting. The two leaders are holding the cards close to their chests, not revealing what happened, perhaps just to play it very low key. I can tell you one thing, though. Netanyahu, when he came back to Israel, he said that President Trump is certain that he can reach an agreement with the Iranians. He believes that now the Iranians know who they're dealing with. He believes that now the Iranians understand that they made a mistake when they didn't listen to the warnings made by the United States and got very, very hardly hit. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu is quite skeptical that Trump can reach an agreement with the Iranians. And we see that President Trump is moving forward more aircraft, now the George Bush aircraft, preparing to a war, which we believe in Israel will be inevitable.
Yeah, yet again, it's really interesting to see how all of this plays out and to hear what the Prime Minister had to say, not necessarily versus, but along with what President Trump had to say as well. Speaking of what the President had to say, he also made mention that progress is being made in Gaza and concluded that peace is truly within that region. Would you agree with that assessment?
This is a very optimistic observation. The next step for receiving peace in Gaza must involve Hamas disarming itself. Nothing can move in Gaza without Hamas taking off its weapon. And Hamas already declared and announced that he has no intention to do so. We know that the international force that President Trump is trying to build in Gaza will not be capable of fighting these terrorists. The only one that will do this job should be Israel, and probably will be Israel. So the first step has to be taking care of Hamas, and then we can build a peace. Unfortunately, there are states in the Middle East that are pushing United States to move forward without destroying Hamas, without dismantling these organizations. And I have to remind you that when Israel went to the war, they had two goals: to bring back the hostages and to destroy Hamas, because we don't want to experience October 7 again. So if we did not reach the second goal of the war, we have to push everything aside, all the big dreams, and there are big dreams. We want Gaza to flourish. We want it to be a peaceful, quiet place. We want it to be a kingdom in the Middle East, as President Trump is planning. But the first thing we have to do is to dismantle this organization and to make sure Hamas can never rise again.
Yeah, something we'll have to keep a close eye on. I want to throw somewhat of a zinger, and you don't necessarily have to answer if you're not familiar, but we know back here at home, more than 150 rabbis and Jewish clergy protesting President Trump's administration's crackdown gathered outside of ICE headquarters right here in the nation's capital yesterday. Now, the protesters held signs noting they've been resisting tyranny since pharaohs and others were making comparisons to Nazi Germany. We know that as of today, the Trump administration now says they will end the immigration crackdown here in America in the state of Minnesota. I guess what I'm getting to is their voices combined. Was it enough for the president's ear to be turned toward them and for them to, or for him to rather, make a move that would then end this immigration crackdown?
You know, agreeing with this statement, Myra is another anti-Semitic phrase that here the Jews are controlling Washington. I don't believe that a protest by 150 rabbis moved President Trump to take actions. I think that the climate and the unfortunate killings in the state of Minnesota and the increasing frustration from the American public and perhaps some internal consideration of President Trump moved him eventually to take ICE out of Minnesota and to try to solve the problem with the other words. I have to remind everyone that Trump ran on the ticket of taking care of the illegal immigration. He took the steps against those who really enter the country illegally and they have no room and place to stay in the United States. Unfortunately, the result of the steps that he took caused some harm, and perhaps now it's time to rethink about the way, about the methods, how to do it, but not to abandon the principle.
Well said. Yet again, Nitsana, Darshan, Leitner joining us right here on the Live Zone. We truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right, folks, we'll take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back.